So if you all are all set, we'll kind of pop back into the kind of contract moment of this and trying to determine what we're going to move forward with. So as we jump back into things, Strahd will once again kind of reiterate that I need you to return to me with who my betrayer is, who their accomplice is, and their method of communication. And before we begin, I think it is best for us to decide whether you would like your prize to be freedom for one of you, a great treasure from Barovia's fallen, or perhaps more knowledge and information that might help you in your ways around Barovia.
I, for one, would go with either a treasure or I would not leave someone behind within a short.
I agree with Patriot.
You already have the font of evil in your heart. Are you not sure it would be best to leave before you see it grow and find yourself leaving your god Helm and finding solace in the arms of the dark gods? They can give so much more power than your god has the ability to share.
Nope, not today anyway. I'm quite happy with my faith. Keep that till it's gone. But today, it is not.
If we unveil your betrayer, can we take your word that you will deliver your promise?
I am the lord of these lands. You will have to trust me on any level. I think you understand the severity of my anger. I do not yet know whether you trust me or not, though. You ate the food. You are not ill. I promised you safety while you were here, and you have it until you return to the Wizard of Wines. Whether you help me or whether you say no, and Rahadin, I do not need you yet. Or when Rahadin returns you to the Wizard of Wines with a no.
Lord Strahd, I would just quickly note that even if we do question your prize, we may not be able to come out with an answer as of yet. However, it may enable us to determine leads to find that answer following today, which would beg us to ask you if we did pick you up on this, rather than give you a conclusive good, we will, but if we can't, allow us to use that information gained here tonight, then find with leads that we would be able to pursue in the days to come, and request another audience with conclude.
You will have safety until you are finished here. I do not believe that it is likely you will come to a conclusion. I wonder how my brides betray me, but I do not necessarily think that you will find the end result yourselves. So, if you question them and find nothing, there will be no prize for you, but you can still return to your lives outside, unhurt, unmolested. You will find no danger while you are here.
Then we will accept your bargain, but I care not for your knowledge, for it's knowledge you seek from us, and I care not for your treasures. Therefore, the reward must be freedom, and I choose Sophia's freedom.
Tatiana is non-negotiable. She is doomed to this place. Her soul is bound with mine.
Does Sophia know that? Have you had that conversation? I mean, she's right
Sophia is but the vessel by which Tatiana lives in Barovia. Whether she knows this yet or denies it matters not. Her freedom is non-negotiable. If she leaves this place, she is as likely to die and return again as to fail in its entirety. But you will never find me freeing the soul of my love from this land.
Sorry,
Oh Lord, could it be Tatiana in one way or another?
I feel you do not listen to the words that I say. It is one of Escher, Ludmilla, Volenta, or Anastraya. Tatiana is a reoccurring life. She was once my love, and I chose to conquer this land and lost her for it because of a great betrayal and the evil that I sunk into to save my life because I chose this land is the very nature that returns her over and over. It keeps me alive for an eternity just to remind me of my suffering and how I once chose other than her. And that, my dear, as they say, Sophia, is why you are here. You are the vessel of my torture, and it is only by the faintest of hopes that I can hope one day you desire to become my bride of your own free will, that perhaps our souls, when we unite by choice, will be freed from this hellscape that I named for my father.
Strahd, quick question. What's your father's name?
What is the name of this land? Barov was my father. The land is his. I have once dedicated it to my love of my father. And Ravenloft is named for my mother, Revnovia. For we live always in sight of my mother and within the bounty of my father.
While that last little bit's going on, Sark is going to reach down and touch Sophia's hand, and he will whisper to her, "Wrong. You will be free."
She's just shaking and chugging wine.
My lord, we want to help you. We will help. Is there anything that are there any limits to how and what we may question your wives?
I think first we should settle on what you all would care as your bounty. Would you choose a great item from our treasure hoards? Would you choose knowledge? And he'll look back to Sarkis. For you can choose your freedom, but not hers.
Would this be a treasure item each? For each man?
It will be for one.
What knowledge could you possibly offer? You have no really that we were to anyway.
Were I to share the knowledge that I withhold from you, it would not be a bargaining chip. Has your helm trained you so poorly that you think you can trick one as ancient as I? And without moving, the whole of the earth is going to shake.
Okay, duly noted. Just trying to get a better understanding of what is to be gained here.
You can choose to take something material from within the castle. You can choose to take something immaterial from within my mind. Or you can choose for one of you to leave through the mist as if you were of the Vistani.
Well, if it's just one item, as much as it'll benefit, perhaps the knowledge maybe. I'm gonna just assume that the whole someone backing out of this adventure is not an option.
I would go for the.
You cut off after I would go for.
I would go for the.
It's still cut off, but I feel like you were saying I will go for the item.
Correct.
I'll leave it up to you three. That way, there's no ties.
So then it's on Key to decide, would you like an item from Ravenloft, or would you like knowledge from Strahd? And I guess also we should say, does everybody agree to that? That if you go for the majority, that will be your decision?
Yeah, I'll go with majority. Sure.
Yeah, I'm good with majority.
I'm good with that.
So we'll say that Sarkis is voting with where Lenya is voting. And Key, what would you like?
Oh, God.
No pressure.
Well, I flipped the coin and landed on heads, and that was knowledge.
Hell yeah, knowledge. Knowledge it is then.
Excellent. So your bounty will be extraordinary knowledge from my memories. Upon completion of finding out who it is who has betrayed me, who their accomplice is, and how it is that they are speaking to one another. While you go about the castle, you are welcome in much of the castle. There are other parts that, despite my order, will always be unsafe for any who are wandering around with blood flowing through their veins. So, it is best for you not to enter certain parts of the castle. But each of my concubines is well aware that you will be coming around to question them. You can find them each waiting for your arrival, and Rahadin will escort you to them. If you choose to walk without Rahadin's escort, you may find yourselves in great danger. If you choose to walk without one of my concubines escorting you, you may find yourselves in great danger. Most of the castle understands that you are my guests, and you are to be left unharmed. But we have our ways, so somebody may die, but that is neither here nor there. If someone breaks the truth, their life is forfeit. Be it one of you or one of the others who is in my castle. Please, you need not raise your weapons towards anything that is here. If something attacks you, you can call Rahadin, and he opens the doors, and Rahadin will arrive to protect you.
Lord Strahd, please note that we are all very wounded from our last battle that you've taken us straight this tonight. If we suffer any damage or even live to shout Rahadin.
I'm not sure how this would be any different than if you were wandering through my castle as before. Perhaps that is a prudent reason to make sure to shout for Rahadin before you go wandering around the castle. He will escort you wherever you need to go, and you will be in utter safety.
I merely ask, do you have any means of healing us? Perhaps to ensure some modicum of safety.
I think you might find that my healing is a little bit antithetical to your way of living. And he just flashes like a single of his canine teeth, like on the right upper side of his face.
Okay, never mind.
If you require a rest, and he looks down towards his fingers, we can give you a place to sleep in the guest quarters. But I must admit there was a certain part of me that thought you were adventurers, not sleepers.
Smart adventure.
And smart adventurers would know that if they go where they are not meant to go within the castle Ravenloft, you will find nothing but death, regardless of how your body currently feels. But if you require rest, Rahadin will take you to sleep.
Is that a good move, guys? I don't know.
I think it's sort of irrelevant, honestly. I get the impression that we're not going to be fighting anything while we're in the castle, and he's promised our safety. So unless we go like wandering off on our own, I don't think there'll be any issues. So I would imagine as soon as we're done here, we can probably just go rest anyway.
The only reason I say is I imagine a situation if we were to uncover something, person we've done it, and they realize that we're on, they could turn on us.
Just call Rahadin.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Lord, your assurances are quite complete. Thank you. We will not break the agreement we have made. We will stay where we should stay and not go where we should not go.
Excellent. Rahadin, bring me one of the bottles of the Champagne de la Stomp. It is time for us to celebrate and enjoy some of the finest of the wines present in this land. As I understand, the Martikovs have drank their last, so perhaps this is among the last of the finest. So about 5 minutes passes. Rahadin comes up with a golden bottle, very similar to what you saw Davian open upon your little celebration before Strahd's arrival. Definitely much dustier. It seems to be far more ancient than even the Martikov's bottle. And he will pop it and into fresh glasses before the four of you. He will pour a glass. And Strahd just kind of sits back, describing the florals, very familiar with the actual taste of the wine. He does not actually partake of it. But again, like Sarkis, you now know that it is actually alcohol, so you don't necessarily have to partake in it. Sophia drinks it as if it's swill, probably not enjoying the taste in the least bit, but this is essentially, well, I don't know shit about expensive champagnes, but like, say for instance, actual French champagne from the Champagne region, this is absolutely stunning, delicious champagne that is like the most wonderful florals, kind of like tickles your nose and gives you that feeling of like walking through a meadow of flowers. And with that, he'll ask, which of the brides would you be most intrigued to speak to first?
My Lord, your choice. I would say we start with one that is of lower.
Maybe Asher then.
A fine choice.
Rahadin, I will have to attend to my other business. If you would be so kind as to escort them to Escher, please do not hesitate to call upon me once you have found the bride and have our solution. If at any point you give up, you can also let Rahadin know. He will notify me and prepare the horses. Until then, I bid you all adieu. Have a excellent hunt. And until we next see each other. And he'll bow his head as he steps out of the eastern doors and moves on into the castle. Rahadin will stand at the doors, just kind of waiting with his arm extended to the east. And you'll see that there is a small circular stair that moves It's about like 20 feet east of these doors, and it moves, was it counterclockwise up, and he'll take you up. Let's see, I think that's 3 flights of stairs. My bad. So it's out of that room, and it's about 40 feet to the east. There's a stairway that leads down from where you're at, directly to the east, and then to the south side of that stair, it continues up counterclockwise from there. And you do a few rotations of this as you walk up. I think passing the first of the stairs on the west side is the first landing. And then you'll pass a second landing that has a door to the west and to the north. A third landing that has a door to the west. And then up to the top level where the stair stops in a small little hall. And you see basically like this little hallway has the door behind you that leads down the stairs. Another door to the north of you that's on the east side of the hall, and then a door on the west side of the hall. And you're kind of in that little room. He'll escort you through the little hall and into a small library of sorts. It seems to be a bit of a sitting room with a little bit of like furniture set about. It has the crest of the... Oh my gosh. The Von Zarovich crest, like 4 different sofas, as well as an extremely large hearth on the east side. So let's get you all... My apologies, I didn't actually realize I had Fog of War off. So as you enter into that room, Rahadin kind of looks around for a moment before he moves up to the more northern of the 2 windows on the western side. And he just kind of like slides it to the side as it kind of hinges open. And he looks out onto the roof and he says, "Escher, please come in. You know the Lord asked you to be waiting in the study, not on the roof." Escher will climb back through one of the windows. There's one on the north side and one on the south. And find a seat where he sits himself down and looks to you all. "I am to understand you have questions for me, and the Lord wishes me to answer. What can I do for you?"
Yeah, sure. Can you tell us how what your position is? Strahd's court.
Rahadin will look to you all. "If I may interrupt for a moment, would you like me to wait out of the room at a call, or would you like me to wait in the room with you?" And he rolls his eyes as he says, "In the room with you."
Out of the room.
"What is my place in his court? I am a poet. I write the songs. I write the ballads. I write the poetry of this land. I find myself most interested in great poets, wonderful ballads. I'm well aware of the many worlds that we are between, and we also are quite creative in those things that we might do together. It is much of my time with Strahd that he cares not for words, we spend creating, hopefully, to find a way to breach the mist himself and move to another land.
Yes, Strahd tells us, and tell us how do you feel work is?
We have opened gateways to other places. We have reached through and possessed things from without. But I know he is disappointed that we cannot yet step through.
Forgive me. I know you say we, as in you, have accomplished much. Give me an asking. About you particular.
We, as in Lord Strahd and myself, have done these things. It is both of our magics together that are able to breach this land. In part, we believe it is because I am not from this land, and in part because he is banished from moving to other lands. You know quite well he can free one of you for this charge that you have. It is none of my business, but he has never offered me the freedom that I know is at his hands. But that is why we work the magic together. It is only in the pair that we will hopefully one day find freedom. For now, we have all of the time in the world to find it. And I have so many worlds that I would love to explore. And with that, to taste.
Indeed, good aspirations to have. So, would you say there's anything that you are concerned with? Have worries for these aims?
His boredom is well known. He is a fickle man. His love runs infinitely only for Tatiana. And he'll look over to Sophia. If I am unable to satisfy him in time, no doubt he'll lock me away.
Troubling thoughts. That's concern you, or does that trouble you? Or is this more of a trifling? Feel your position is held well and truly strong, or something to be thought?
To be gifted with eternal life and the desire to see the infinite worlds. Yes, it is quite fearsome to imagine being barred up inside of cement and left to rot in the crypts for all eternity.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Sarkis gonna take his walking staff and like hit it down against the wood, and then walk forward and say, "And do you know why we are here? Why we speak with you now?"
His paranoia follows suit with his boredom. I understand we are to answer your questions and do his duty. But to imagine any of us would betray our Lord for the gifts that he has shared is horrendous. We all have our own ways of loving him, We all have our own ways of fearing him. I do not believe you will find any betrayal in this land. But he is the Lord. We have no ability to stand against him, just as you are but his pawn. So are we.
Strange you should say that. A miller. Very different to say about it. Sure that
Roll a deception check. You just left dinner, what, 10 minutes ago? You had a conversation with that wretch in 3 minutes? She does not move so quickly.
haha, but you described her as a wretch. Why would you describe her so?
She is a bookworm. She lives in the library. She is the most boring of all things Ravenloft. Why would you describe her as anything but wretched? She has no creativity. She has no love of poetry. She studies this land, this boring land. There is so little history of worth here. There is no art. There is no light. There is no glory to be celebrated. The Von Zarovich's war was over 700 years ago. There's nothing here that a poet should enjoy. She loves nothing that is fun, entertaining, creative, or new. She just studies. Studies. There's no creativity.
So would you say that you're longing for something other than stuck with?
She longs to make herself valuable to the Lord. She knows that she is old news and will not be long for this world.
Why do you say?
Her value was past when she became his bride. She has lost her powers.
And yet you believe that this think that
My magic is not woven in the same light. My magic comes from my creativity, from my music, from my heart. Hers was a bloodline, as all females of the Vistani race. She had the magic of fortune-telling, and it was lost when she became a spawn of our great lord. So she struggles to make herself useful, to find new brides like Gertruda's innocence. And one day she will run out of beautiful brides to sell to the devil Strahd, and she will find herself in the prison for all eternity.
You speak of magic and leaving this place. Is that why God suspects you? Be afraid that we'll leave him behind if you discover the secrets?
We work together to create a way out of this place. If my lord suspects me, it is nothing but his suspicion. I deserve none of his fear. I am most grateful. I have dreamed of visiting some of the wonderful cities of my world, and now I know that I am free to visit them all, and many more. I know of at least 3 different worlds that I can travel to now. I am well aware of those who walk between the planes, and I at least know part of how to wield the magic to do so. But I am still locked in this place, as all who are in Barovia. To imagine that he fears me seems so sad. I love my lord. I would never do anything to harm him, and I would do nothing to betray him. It is my greatest dream that we might walk the plains together.
Keep mentioning together and that you work together as if you're equal. But Strahd described you quite differently, begging your pardon. Said that, you're but an ant and that, you feared your position. To be completely frank with you now, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but you described as if you burn you? I've just
We are lovers, but that does not mean he will not punish me if his boredom arrives where he finds me useless. I must earn my way in the same way that Ludmilla sells the souls of beautiful girls to him. I try to continually win his love with new creations. I have been with him hundreds of years. It has been a long time since he grew weary of the poetry. To walk the plains, to feast on your kind, on your home world, would be most delightful to me, in the same way that it would delight my lord. The blood, the many hundreds of thousands who live on the other worlds, it would be glorious to leave this land. And as much as I want to leave, cannot imagine leaving without my lord who has given me the gift that will allow me to see every world that I can find on it. But do not make the mistake of thinking of me as his equal. We are his servants. We are his creation, and none of us could stand against our lord. I warned you, or at least told you. I don't believe any of us would betray our lord, and it is because of this. None of us are stupid enough to imagine that we could. He is a glorious father and lover to us all.
I have one final question for myself, other than my friends here. If that is the case, humor me. If one of, if not yourself, one of the other brides were to betray Strahd, who would you think likely, however trivial?
I would think that of all of us, Valenta is the one most capable. But not out of malice. She alone would enjoy the death that we could bring if we travel to other worlds, as much as our lord would enjoy it. But she has always enjoyed death more than her brain cells have enjoyed communicating. She is most capable of betraying him, and she would never know that she had done it.
Say you would not betray him, but I sense resentment when he offered us a way out. But yet, if he offered it to you, would you leave him? Would you leave this place?
If my lord told you that I was capable of betraying him, it is perhaps my mistake for having once offered that if he would send me through the portal and allow me to walk through the mist, I would go to the other lands, speak to the great wizards and the great weavers of the magics of this world, and I would come back to save him from this. And I fear that slip might be my undoing that will find me bricked up in the crypts. Does that answer your question?
Hmm. It does. It does. But I fear that suspect we are your enemies, that we wish for harm to become of you, so that we may reap the rewards.
The reward of leaving this land is enticing to some. I fear the greatest danger in having the opportunity to leave would be that I could never again share the glory with my Lord Strahd. I would love to return to Waterdeep. The things that I could do to the Black Staff, the power that I could wield on Faerun, the things that I could do to the Liches of Thay. I could bring back great knowledge to my lord. He fears that I will leave him and will not send me through. But I fear most of all that one day I will not be able to share his company again. And that is a fear that is greater than death.
Interesting. And what if we told you that when presented with the opportunity to leave this place, or a precious item, or knowledge, that we chose knowledge?
I think perhaps you might find yourselves have chosen wisely, for there are few who know more about this land than Strahd. I dare say there are none. Even Ludmilla, with all of her studying, could not even begin to comprehend what it is that he knows. And I also know full well that had you chosen one of the great items from his armory, Strahd would have given you nothing that was a threat to him. So perhaps a great boon could be found within the castle walls, but in the long run, I think knowledge is likely to have been the best choice. But perhaps you will have to find that out once you decide what to ask.
I suspect that you look at us as your enemy, but perhaps we're not your enemy. Perhaps we're your greatest ally, and you're just yet to realize it.
I assure you, for now, you are little more than food that I have been admonished when I asked to eat.
Perhaps. But when the time comes and you need us, no, we will answer the call.
Please don't hold your breath. Your blood only tastes delicious when it has the air from about.
Too wise to remember. Even the lion, refuge, mouse.
Given the opportunity for freedom, and I'll point my staff up at him, my stick. And I'll look him right in the eyes. Would you betray Strahd?
I think he'll answer both of you in kind. He's going to grab a dagger from his belt, and it's a beautiful, like, golden hilt, like, intertwined around, like, an ivory scale. And he's going to take this, like, 12-inch long blade, and just as he glances between you all, he's just going to slowly slide it into his hand, through his hand, out the other side. He's going to spin it, and then as he, like, levers it out between his middle finger and his, like, ring finger on his right hand, you'll see, like, a massive, like, cut in his hand as he draws the blade through his hand. And then within moments he heals. Not all lions need fear, a thorn, and the greatest gift of all is eternal life.
You just hear Sarkis let out a little squeak, and he'll just yell, Rahadin, we are done with this one.
Rahadin opens up the door. Excellent. Where would you like to go next? Who would you like to visit? Escher, you can return to your musings.
Yes, Asher. Your secret's safe with us. And Sarkis will scurry out the door real quick.
Escher will pick up a violin from next to his table, step back out of the window, and walk back out onto the rooftops and begin playing a little bit of music. Whose company do you desire?
Sarkis will look up at Vox and say, perhaps Lumella.
So he'll walk you all back out into that little hallway, going to the staircase to the right side. You guys will walk back down to the level right below, to the last landing, where the landing is off to the west of you. And you will head through, first a small dining room, set with, I think, like, wedding cakes. All of these, like, cakes and pastries are, like, set across the table, and all of it is moldy, foul, and rotten. And there are a few doors, I think, to the north and to the south, and he will walk you to the north. You will see a small reading room. There are bookcases to the west of you all, along the southern wall, as well as on the west wall. There's a double door between another set of bookcases on the northern wall. And then there is another door to the north, as well as a large hearth on the east side. And this room is a big library and sitting room. You'll find Lumella is sitting on a nice, comfy, like, fluffy chair, looking over the hearth. And on the wall above her, you see Lumella dancing in, like, a little bit of a forest clearing, and just reaching her arm out as her dress spins out, and she's reaching her hand out to Strahd, who's got his hand in, like, the kind of, like, opposite position, so they're, like, almost, like, twirling off of their fingertips of each other.
We can come back with that time.
I assure you, your presence will always be a bad time. There's never enough time for reading. I do not have a choice but to entertain you. So please, ask your questions and be gone.
You know why we're here.
Yes, my lord has told me to answer your questions. He has his suspicions.
And why would he suspect you?
Why would he suspect any of us? I don't know why he would think that I would betray him. I have loved him longer than all of the rest.
Not all things get better with age.
We do not age, since we have been bitten by my lord. We have all been turned and been frozen in time. My age means nothing.
And what is it that you search so adamantly for in all these books? What answer?
I think most of all I seek not to annoy my lord. There is a certain level that I try to find concubines for him, so that I may please him. But there is little reason for me to do anything that could anger him. I would rather stay in my place, off to the side, so that he may call on me in need.
And how do you go about procuring these concubines for him? I was under the impression that your contact outside these walls is limited.
We live within these walls, but we also do my lord's bidding, and that most certainly includes going without. It was some time ago that I was the one who invited Anastraya from Wallaki, and she came here after boasting that she would marry none but Strahd, and you now find her here. It was I who went to Barovia and found the little Gertruda who will soon replace Anastraya. I do the bidding of my lord. Do I leave the castle when he does not ask me to? No. Do I leave it when I am asked? Most certainly.
What do you mean replace Anastraya?
You've got to know she is an annoying bitch. It takes 5 seconds of being around here. You're the best at this! You're so wonderful! Isn't this a great party? She is dreadful. Strahd will not stand for it much longer, and the whole castle will be much better for it afterwards. He should have left her, whatever dreadful princess of Valaki she was, and allow her to rot as flesh should have. But now, perhaps it is better that she will be boarded up and suffer for eternity.
Is that how you feel? Or suffering? Time become prison.
I quite enjoy myself here. We have libraries and books from many worlds. I have much ability to read and enjoy all sorts of knowledge. As long as I can keep my lord from drawing bored of my presence, I will enjoy this for an eternity. Do I fear that one day he will grow bored of me? Yes. Do I think it is likely? I do not believe so. I have been here the longest of all of his brides, and I believe it is safe to say I will outlast them all.
Yes, but surely you must tire of this after a while. I mean, they're run out, and I'm guessing you read all of it. Plus thirst.
I saw his precious little Tatiana drinking Fireball. Do you not know that we have every world in the multiverse to go to? The Vistani walk the plains for my lord. This library is not built of Barovia. It is built from the plains.
So tell me this: other than Anastraya, you say has the most to gain?
I think it is silly to imagine any of us could betray Strahd. I think it is a lot to ask that we could gain from betraying our lord. We all well know that you are here because he chooses not to exact his will on us. So to imagine that we have something to gain by betraying him is to pretend that somebody has grown beyond his will. And I just don't know if that's possible.
Can I insight check her?
What are you looking for?
I want to see. Is she telling us the truth? I understand that she says they have little to gain by betraying him, but is it possible that it's not about what they have to gain, but about what he has to lose? Because why wouldn't he just kill all of them and just get new brides?
I would say on that, then, she's definitely answering Vox's question, which was, what does anybody have to gain by betraying him? So, I mean, you can insight check her, but she was responding to his question truthfully. So I would say that's one of those things where a die roll isn't necessarily the solution, and asking a different question might be the solution.
Okay, I got you.
If Strahd felt that there was someone that could betray him, then in your infinite knowledge and wisdom, you had to choose someone you think would have the means and
I think I have already answered that question, in that I think it seems an impossibility that any of us could have grown beyond our Lord's strength.
well, let me put it to you like this. Escher, by the way, didn't speak very fondly of in our recent
It is not surprising, we have never gotten along. There are few things worse than Escher, and the only one that I can think of wears that gaudy red dress and prances around as if she is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yes, quite. Well, that being said, even if what he had said about you, thought pick someone have any means try and betray Strahd, however trifling, picked Valenta. You say
It seems like the easy solution to go for the stupidity. Those who lack an intellect can certainly make mistakes, but to imagine... And she pauses for a moment. Well, I guess... Perhaps if one of us was to have made a mistake, it would be that we betrayed our Lord on accident. But I do not believe that that would end in a solution where logic will come to that conclusion. For it would be illogical to say that we chose to betray him. It would simply be accidental that somebody did.
So what you're saying is either Valenta out of stupid or Anna Freya because she fears that her time is.
I certainly don't think Anastasia is intelligent enough to even know how to betray him. She is completely consumed by the idea of hosting dinner parties, constantly inviting commoners from Barovia. None of them come. They are all wise. Gertruda was such an outlier to find a girl so stupid to believe that her Lord Strahd is some savior. She is so cute in her innocence, but I don't believe you are going to find a betrayer here. I think you are simply being asked by Strahd to come into this place and make yourselves known to him.
If Strahd truly feared any of you, or thought that you were the betrayer that been made out to be, why would he not just kill you all and find new brides?
Perhaps the answer to that question is that he is a tortured lover at heart. And though he is forbidden from ever possessing his beautiful Tatiana, that Strahd does not wish to dispose of all of us. And that is why we are all here. Because I don't think any of us doubt that if he cared about whoever is betraying him, if he actively thought we were betraying him, I think you are right, that he would kill the five of us before feeling the betrayal complete. I think yes, he loves us. And I hope, for my sake, the love weighs heavily on my side. Because we all fear being barred up into the crypts. And the reason none of us would betray him is because we know we cannot stop neither his will nor his choice to eternally imprison us in the crypts.
Mela, can I be frank with you? I see you as perhaps the smartest brides, and with the time you spent with him over time, probably earned the biggest favor. And also in that time, seeing perhaps an eventual end to see yourself, perhaps no will coming at. Perhaps maybe the person that Strahd speaks. And I say this to you frankly, you must also know that we are here not as Strahd's allies or friends.
She yawns really loudly. Oh,
That's just
my apologies. I was overtaken there. You can continue.
yes. Well, what I was about to say was perhaps ally.
Do not forget that you look at things through a mortal lens. I am not interested in allies like you. I have my love of Lord Strahd, and an eternity to enjoy his presence. I think it is very mortal to imagine that an eternal life would become a prison, which it is not. I have watched my entire family of Vistani die and pass on with time. I do not look at time as suffering. It is a joy to be in the presence of my Lord. I don't require allies.
Box will just stretch in your way. Sorry, I missed that last bit.
If you are finished, I can call for Lord Rahadin to come and escort you in safety, so you are not murdered walking through these stairs.
Before we go, you are from the Vistani, but you have no loyalty to them. What do you know of Madame Eva and her fortune?
I first found my favor with Lord Strahd by using my own power of fortune-telling. It was most unfortunate to find out that it was lost when I became his servant. I am well aware of the Vistani. Many of us serve him quite loyally. But we are a people, like many others, that are divided by our own choices. There is not one Vistani. There is a plethora of us. We are many, we are different, we are a wonderful people. And it just so happens that many of the females have the power of this Madame Eva, who makes herself so well known to the far travelers.
And you too used to possess this power?
She looks down in like a little bit of remorse as she puts her finger into the book that she's currently reading. And for the first time, she's taking her eyes away from the book. And she just... Yes, I once had the power. It is how I was able to gain favor with the Lord and become his bride. But in part, the marriage has taken that power. And that is certainly why I fear at some point he might grow bored of me. But I have been with him many hundreds of years now, and he still loves me. So, with my maturity, I have found reason to ignore the self-conscious thoughts that drive me as if I were inferior, and I continually remind myself that sometimes to be the best spouse means to do your duty, do it diligently, and stay the fuck out of his way.
That the books came from many planes, correct?
The Vistani travel all over the multiverse.
Could those books not be returned to planes?
Most certainly.
Dang. That's it.
How often do you get new books? Do the Vistani travel for Lord Strahd often?
She'll walk over to the bookshelf and she will draw out, I believe, 3 books that at one point Kavi was carrying. I have a regular supply of new books. This journal has been most delicious to consume. The Vistani themselves as well, though, are able to bring many objects. Many things we have to ask for. Other things, the people bring with them. But I have found there is no short supply, for many books are worth reading twice. But I have all the time in the world to choose and rank which ones I will read next. And she'll point over to a small stack of books, about 12 books stacked next to one of the bookcases, and say, those are my to-be-reads.
I think we're done with this one. You have revealed your hand.
Can Vox take a quick look at the book that she's got pile on the
Most certainly. It's just an array of books. What are you looking for?
floor? Just to see what they are or what titles.
I mean, there's a collection of philosophy from different planes. If you want me to generate book titles, I can. But in the end, my point of this is that she has a massive collection in her library. But it's just a general, hodgepodge of many different, crafted styles of books. Some of them are codices, where it's, actual, hard copies that flip open with different binding sources. Some of them are soft-bound books where you'd find something like, say, the Iliad from Earth on it. There's just a plethora of books. If you are looking for a specific kind of book, you can let me know. But inside of this library and inside of her next reads, it's infinite possibilities.
Okay, cool. And then finally, is there anything in the library that look that we could see, without prying too closely, that could, I don't know, that potential that we might notice?
I mean, there's easily 500-600 books inside of this library, so I would say easily is probably antithetical. But you can certainly try to look.
Sure.
Can roll a perception check. Just seems like regular varying titles of all sorts of different things. Autobiographies, books on music, books on theory, books on philosophy, books on mathematics. It's just all kinds of things. Nothing that necessarily strikes your eye as being secretive.
Okay.
Rahadin!
Within a moment, he opens up the door behind you.
We're through with this one.
And who would you care to visit next?
Sarkis will look back at Lumella, and then while he's still looking at her, he'll say, "Take us to Anastria. We tire of these games."
She lets out a little bit of a chuckle. Just you are the best questioners that I have ever met. It's so wonderful to see you. And she continues reading. So you will return through the same stair, back through the dining room, set with the wedding cakes that have all turned, back into the little hall. You start to go clockwise down the stairs. Damn, I feel like it's anti-clockwise. Counterclockwise down the stairs. And then you walk out. You walk out on the landing that leads to the west. Rahadin will open a door, and there's a human male, who seems to be about 80 or 90 years old, sitting at the desk to the north of you. And he's just filling out a ledger on the desk. And this room is an absolute mess of all kinds of shit here and there strewn about. And he looks up for a moment at Rahadin and then back down to his paperwork. And Rahadin walks through the room and opens the door on the western side and beyond.
Rahadin, who is this? Is that just a rando?
Yeah, there's other random servants in Ravenloft. Give me a second.
Oh, okay, it's no problem. As long as it's nothing important. I just
Yeah,
was not expecting to see
I-
someone else.
I can look up his name. I was essentially dropping off the other guys, but he's essentially the bookkeeper of Ravenloft. So Rahadin will share his name with you all and tell you that he is the bookkeeper. He keeps the ledgers and keeps track of the treasure.
No problem. I wasn't expecting someone else, so you kind of threw me off.
Yeah, there's technically a chef and a maid. And I feel like that are most of the servants.
Real quick, before we talk to her, can we have like a minute at a game to talk to each other?
Yeah, that'd be golden because I need to take a restroom break.
All right, I feel like there was definitely some resentment from Escher that we were offered the possibility to leave, but he was not. I definitely felt like Lumella was holding something back, and again, there was resentment that she gave up her gift to serve Strahd, and then also like an entitlement. She was like the oldest, but wasn't like appreciated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally.
But I don't think either one of them is the guilty one. I think that it's probably either Anastraya or Valenta, and I think that these are the two stupid ones. So rather than straight up trying to get them to tell on themselves, I think we almost have to trick them, same way that they maybe inadvertently betrayed Strahd, that they would inadvertently like spill the beans.
Yeah, maybe. And even if it was one of those other two, right, and they're just good at hiding it, if it comes down to it, we can always say that based on truth and fact that both pinned it on Lenta being stupid. If we can get Anna to do the same, whether it's true or not is not important. But we would succeed at our task and we might still ally.
I'm just going to throw it out there. You guys need proof.
Yeah, I feel, and by proof, we basically have to get them to tell on themselves, because we're not just gonna like find like a letter to like somebody or something like that type deal, right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm just... Go, Key.
I was gonna say, like, where's the best place to hide a letter except amongst like a thing of words? Like, it may be like the may not be like the smartest thing to do, but or, how well do we know how much Strahd reads in the library?
Well, I just mean it's not like we're gonna have the opportunity to like go through all their shit and like try to find like evidence, nor would they be stupid enough to like leave it out and about. That's what I mean. Like, I feel like we need evidence, like names or like incidents, and I feel like the only way we'll get it is if one of them is stupid enough to tell on themselves, because I don't think any of them would openly share that they betrayed Strahd with the others. So I think that I think that there's no witnesses out of the four of them to which one it is. But I think that in the right circumstance, the betrayer would basically like tell on accident or out of fear. So I think that's like the two routes we can go is like them to tell on themselves because they're afraid, which I feel like is probably not going to happen because they would just assume they're going to die and that we can't help them, or them to like accidentally reveal it. That's kind of the impression I'm getting.
Question is, how do we get him to do?
Got to ask the right questions and proc low rolls. I feel,
You
which
wanna
I
take-
really. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, so do you want to take the lead on this? Because I feel like I 50-50. I could either nail the right question, or I can be like a bull kind of shop and go completely the wrong way.
Well, we got 3 low rolls out of Lumella, and still didn't really get any useful information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of those are also me interpreting how they act too. So
Yeah, I got you.
Well, one option could be we go in with the refined method, and if we don't get what we need, we turn Vox loose with the bull in the china shop.
Yeah, I think we're gonna find something here that, even if it's not Anastraya, which the two of them seem like it maybe is, I think we'll at least get a useful bit of info.
But the problem is, like, 2 people already pointed 2 fingers at 2 different people. So who's to say Anastraya and what's her face can't point one finger at Astra and the other at Maya? Yeah.
It's possible. I definitely get the like feeling that the hourglass has been flipped on Anastraya, and like the last couple pieces of sand are like dropping to the bottom, so to speak.
And for all we know, it's possible there is no traitor in the first place.
It's definitely possible.
Very good. I got the feeling we're on a wild goose chase here as well. Possibly.
It's possible he's like paranoid and jealous, but I feel like we're gonna find something here. Only time will tell, though. I might be wrong.
A bet on the wild goose chase.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm good whenever you guys are.
So, as Rahadin walks you all into the room, you see a large ballroom set with a single throne, a chair looking off to the south, and it's just staring at a blank wall of stone. The room is probably about 40 to 60 feet tall, and there's cobwebs just filling much of the ceiling space. There is a large stained glass window off to the northwest of you, and inside of the moonlight, with the colors kind of dancing around her, you'll find Anastraya spinning around just in a, I don't even know what it's called, but like her toe to the ground where she's spinning around like a ballerina, and she's just spinning until she catches sight of you all, and she stops and she'll prance over as she says, Rahadin, you didn't forget me, you brought everybody. Hello, how are you, Sarkis? And she'll bend down and kiss Sarkis. And Lenya, and Vox, and Flea, you've all come to see me. I'm so excited. You're just the best little oily cat there is.
Hello, Anastraya. It's good to see you again, and we most certainly appreciate your upbeat personality.
she's gonna pick you up by the sides, and she's like, "It's you. You're the best questioner in the group. Excellent. How are you, Sarkis? What can I answer for you? What do you need to know? Who do you think it is?"
Do you know why they've sent us here? Do you know why the others suspect you?
Because they're all boring, conniving little bitches? And Escher? I know exactly why you're sent here. It's because Strahd is worried that one of us doesn't like him, doesn't love him, doesn't honor him as the wonderful lord that he is. But we do. So you're wasting your time. So we should dance. Everybody to the dance floor! We'll be the best little dancers in the house.
I suspect that the others are just jealous of you. You clearly love Strahd and would never betray him intentionally.
Yes, Anna, think back. Is there anything recent happened? Made a mistake?
I don't know why you say intentionally. I would never betray Strahd. End of sentence.
Of course. There was no implications. I didn't mean intentionally as if you would do it inadvertently. I only meant that one might perceive your intentions as ill if they had something against you.
Well, I don't know what anybody could have against me, because I'm the most wonderful of all of the brides that Strahd's ever had, and clearly they would recognize that I'm the most beautiful of us all, so clearly they would respect all of that, and they've got to love my parties. I throw the best parties. You should see...
But that's
Well,
just it, you see. You're the most beautiful, and the most loving, and the most fun, and you throw the best parties. Why, that's why. It's jealousy, of course. That's why the others mean to get rid of you. So they've planted the seed inside Strahd's head. This is all just a game, don't you see? The others, they plot against you.
well, that won't matter, because if Strahd does find who he's looking for, he's not going to ask questions. He's going to get answers. And he's powerful enough that there's no doubt in my mind that he'll find that I am perfectly innocent, perfectly loving, and most perfect of a wife.
And that's why you're his favorite, of course. Everyone knows.
Anna, what did you want to show us? To say you should see something.
I have no clue.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I need context.
I might have kind of cut her off. She was saying about haven't you seen? I think she was about to say her parties or her dress.
Oh, yeah. She was saying, haven't you seen how wonderful my parties were? And then she stopped. I was actually stopping when you said that. It was dawning on her that a party of feeding on humans, like eating people, might not sound all that wonderful to you all. And she was trying to be a good host by not bringing it up. And that's one of the things where she has that clash of she's still very human in that she loves to throw parties, but she also forgot for the moment that you all are human and wouldn't like to hear the details. But her upbringing and her class was stop talking about the details and just leave it at don't I throw wonderful parties.
Anna, which of them means to betray you? Which of them planted this seed in Strahd's head with hopes of gaining his favor.
It wouldn't surprise anybody to know that Ludmilla and I get along the least well. But it doesn't matter what anybody would say about me. I don't think any of them would betray him, and everybody knows that I would never betray Strahd. So, that's that. It's time to dance.
But who do you think would betray Strahd?
No one. We are all the best of wives in our own way.
Have you done anything late that God was less happy? The only reason I ask, the others feel that you have made a mistake, just a mistake, rather than
Make a deception check? I don't think any of the others said she made a mistake. I think it's crazy for any of them to have said that I made a mistake. And I don't know what it could have been. I'm blameless, I'm a good wife, and I do everything correctly as my Lord Strahd asks of me. And when I can, I go above and beyond. Although it could have been that bitch Gertruda. I don't like her. She's bubbly. I don't like how bubbly she is.
Well, if you did not make a mistake, then why would they want to replace you?
Nobody wants to replace me. That's foolish.
It's jealousy, you see, because she's Strahd's favorite. That's why they scheme against her. That's why we're here.
I think it's just foolish to imagine that they're scheming against me. It's... I...
That's very unfortunate. Don't let it get to you. And Sarkis will walk over and like take her hand and start to just kind of like dance with her a little bit.
She's gonna twirl you.
Oh, not too fast now. I'm still new at this.
Don't worry, I've got you. We can be the best dancers together. Make a Constitution saving throw.
Right.
Alright, you're good. She spins you really fast, and you definitely start to feel a little bit ill, but you manage to hold everything in.
Oh, the best dancer as well. It's easy to see why they're jealous. You're the
Oh,
best
I'm sorry.
dancer.
I forgot what it's like to have a full stomach.
Yes, I probably ate too much. That was my second dinner. You're clearly the most beautiful. What is it that they could suspect you of? Who could you have accidentally, or what could you have possibly shared with someone else that would start all this?
such a shame. I have to tell Strahd that it might have been a mistake of honor. Perhaps, Anna, if you could just tell us something that could help us explain what has happened, that alleviate such a trifling matter from escalating into far less answer.
feel like you all are asking questions as if I were Valenta and I was going to give you information. You need to ask questions of us all, about each other. Stop trying to pretend that we are going to do this for you. None of us are guilty of this. We are not fools who are going to give you all of the information for free. Please, if you pretend that you are going to find a solution for Strahd, you're going to need to request of all of us our histories, our pasts, what we know and think of each other, not trying to be so open-ended as if one of us was going to betray ourselves.
Interesting. Well, that's just it, you see. I don't expect you to betray yourself for self-preservation. I wish that you would point us in the right direction, as the others have pointed. But the others were all lying because they pointed to you. But the truth is, each of you have a reason to resent Strahd, but none of you to betray him. Not yet, at least.
Surely you're the wisest of them all, Sarkis. How wonderful that you're here.
And you are no doubt the most charming and beautiful. Well, I do have one more question since you brought it up. The others have shared a little bit about their past, about their aspirations. What are yours? Where do you come from? What do you have in store for your future?
I have everything that I've ever wanted. I was born in Wallaki. Saved myself from any of the fools who thought that they could marry me. And I appealed to Strahd that I was the most perfect of wives. And I've been that ever since. It's foolish to look at yourself below your station. And this has always been my station. Was to grow into the beauty that Strahd hoped for, and to be continually his wonderful and devoted wife, which I do beautifully.
Well, it's obvious to me that you were never guilty. You were the only one who sought out Strahd. You are the only one who means to please him with your very existence. You are the only one who is truly happy. Each of the others resent one another as they resent their own failures. But you, Anastraya, you are the opposite.
I think it's foolish to pretend that any of us resent our Lord Strahd, and I'm certainly not the only one who sought him out. Ludmilla was the first to seek him out, and she gave up her magic for him. It's not... I think you're still going the wrong way. I don't think Strahd's going to find that there is any betrayal here in the castle. I think it's more likely that perhaps the Vistani are correct, and they do have magical powers. But... it's sad to think that he looks at us. We all adore him. I just adore him the most.
Lumella, she gave up her magic. She misses her ability to read fortunes. And Asher resents Strahd for not allowing him, not trusting him to leave and find a way out for Strahd. What is it that Gertruda... Wait, I said the wrong one. What is it that Valenta gave up to be with Strahd.
Valenta sought him out as well. She fled from Wallachie. She was a murderous little kid. She's become a murderous little immortal. Of all of us, she has the least brains to her. But she has never lacked in the bloodlust that the Lord Strahd loves and adores.
But why is it that everybody pointed at you?
I can't read minds. That's Strahd's power, and that's why I say, if anybody points at me, it's going to be very quickly solved when he forces himself upon me, and he knows the truth, because I have not betrayed him, I will never betray him, and he will love me forever. That's why he chose me.
But how do we explain to Strahd that everything points to you?
It doesn't matter. You can tell him anything that he wants, and he can look into my mind at his will, and he's going to find out that if they are lying, if they are conniving against me, that it doesn't matter, because I did not betray him. And that's why I think that is such a foolish line of questioning, to pretend that one of us is going to give ourselves up as if everybody else is pointing to them, because it doesn't matter who points where, because he'll know the truth when he's ready to. And the fact that he hasn't killed us all tells us that he is not ready to, and he hasn't chosen to.
Well, perhaps the easiest way to prove you're innocent is to have Strahd beset himself on.
And he well knows that he can, and we will do nothing to stop him, because none of us can stop him.
Sarkis, I think we should do just that.
I agree. We learned by far the most from this interaction. And
It's because I'm the best!
you are. You are indeed. And I can understand why the others would be jealous, but in the future, I would think they would seek you out and learn from all the amazing things you have to offer, of course, rather than resent them. But we will see Valenta next, and I suspect she will point in the same directions to try and even the playing field.
Hopefully, when Strahd makes it, he will be done with you.
I do have one more question for you, Anastraya.
Is it the best question? I'm sure it's the best question. Ask away, little Sarkis.
I like to think so. When Valenta sought out Strahd, what was she escaping from? Did she have family?
She's a sociopathic bitch. She murdered like 10 people. It was interesting.
And I wouldn't be right if I didn't ask about you. Did you leave behind your family when you sought out Strahd? Did you leave behind your loved ones?
All brides do. We all choose to leave our family as we become our husband's wife.
Of course. You must leave behind one family and start another. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the dance as well. And Sarkis will do like a little bow.
And she'll bow in kind, going abnormally low.
It was a pleasure. Anyone else?
So we tell Strahd she is the one.
Speak what you may, doesn't matter to me.
Of course not. That's just it. Gave us all the right answers. No reason to suspect her. She's the only one who has nothing to gain by a betrayal. She already has everything.
Yes, she told us everything we wanted to. She is the one. Let us be gone so we can verify.
Rahadin!
Rahadin will step out of the bookkeeper's office. He will hold the door as he ushers you back through. I assume you are ready to speak to Valenta?
We are indeed. Can we have an out-of-game talk on the way, too?
Most certainly. You all just go back to that stairwell and you walk down 2 more levels.
Okay, so I definitely feel like we got a ton of information out of her that was key right here. I definitely feel like the main implication there is that none of them is going to tell on themselves, and that the key was to find out about their past and potentially find out things that would be useful against Strahd later on.
That was me trying to give you all the clue to actually ask them about each other and let them gossip. That you're not going to get me to tell you who did it by trying to trick them. In general, I think it's getting to the point where you all understand they all respect and fear Strahd. If they betrayed him, whoever betrayed him on accident. And that's my point that I was trying to get across. Like, you first heard it from Ludmilla when it dawned on her, or you first heard it from Escher implicating Valenta, and it was Ludmilla who paused to say, oh, shit, you may be right. If somebody betrayed him, they did it accidentally. And that was my point, is stop trying to get them to implicate themselves, stop trying to use some sort of trickery, and start to ask them to talk. So you may want to revisit these characters because you're going to gain the most by having conversation with them, letting them talk about their history, letting them talk about the other brides.
Yeah, for sure. Like gossip about each other. I definitely feel like it's Valenta, though. Maybe it's just because she's the only one we haven't seen yet. But I definitely feel like it is her.
But yeah, I tried to use that as a position to put her in where she was, because again, she's like a charming host. She was trying to help you all by saying, you know, none of us would betray Strahd. Just listen to our stories and hear what we have to say.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely got that. I feel like we got a pretty good background on all of them, though. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes, and maybe we will need to revisit one.
Does anybody else have any thoughts before we continue on? So you will walk down another 2 levels. The middle level, you'll know, is essentially the entrance level. You'll see the doors of the dining room off to the west of you as you pass that little landing. So you essentially have gone top down across all of these and the rooms that they live in, or that they spend their time in. almost perfectly, I think. I think you went Escher is the highest, Lidmela, and Estrella. Yeah. And then Valenta's in the basement. So you've you picked to explore them top to bottom. So you went from like a fourth level of the stairs down to the third, down to the second. You're passing the first, and you're going into a basement level.
Guys, my head's dead from Canistro. So, sorry about that.
You didn't get to hear it?
Nope.
Probably the best way to go over anything like that would just be to say once I get it up on video, you'll be able to listen to it again. And that's a perfect reason why you guys can revisit these brides at a later point, essentially.
Yeah, I
No
feel like
worries.
we've gotten super lucky too because you've been rolling low. So I feel like we've gotten more information than we probably would have, even with like average die rolls. So even if our questions weren't necessarily the best, I feel like we probably have gotten still most of the information.
And there's no way for me to recap anything because all of this is improvised. It's all trying to understand the characters ahead of time and answer the questions that you all put together. So there's no way that I could recap you. It's got to be with the recording.
Okay, no problem. I
The
just
most, the
sorry,
most. Oh my bad. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. It's no problem. I was just saying sorry I couldn't add to that.
Oh, you're good. I think the most important thing is she sort of said like that we kind of need to get them to gossip about each other, and that if there was a betrayal, it was probably an accidental betrayal. At least that's what she said, and also that like we can get clues from like their past, and that was going to be like probably more useful to try to figure out. Um, but Strahd did kind of give us the idea that maybe we would get to the bottom of it today, which I just didn't think was likely. So I don't know. Maybe he was just like overly confident in our skills.
Today also isn't the session, it's a game day. So that's the difference there.
That's true. So like we would get almost a lead, and then we could pursue the lead afterwards.
Yeah, and also, I mean, that was part of why I brought up that Strahd at one point also doubted whether it was viable to have you all try this, that perhaps you weren't up to the task.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. If it was easy, he would have just done it himself. But yeah, I think the best thing to do is instead of like trying to like good cop, bad cop Valenta, if she's quote unquote like not the smartest, to try to get her to just like talk and reveal information more than like try to be suspicious towards her like openly. That makes sense. Sort of
Got
like
it.
grease the wheels and get her like flapping at the jaw.
Oh
I know
yeah.
how we Asher getting those open questions about
And I feel like if we like we've been kind of playing their own like personalities to our benefit. Like you know, there was like definitely a little bit of like jealousy or like resentment from Lumella, which I think helped us get a little more info from her. And then there was definitely like a little bit of like distrust going both ways through Asher. And then with Anastraya, like we kind of like use flattery like to our benefit there. So I'm not sure exactly what angle we'll be able to take with Valenta. Um, like everybody just calls her stupid killer.
probably just kind of like stroke the ego of how she likes figures.
Yeah, maybe I'll try like an angle about like. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Just lead with we saved the best.
Yeah, I get the impression she's going to be the least kind of like, you can have a nice talk. She's more going to be like, can I kill you? kind of thing. So it'll be fun. I mean, wasn't she wearing like a skull tiara or something? She was like the only one wearing something freaky at the dinner.
He has a platinum skull mask.
There you go.
And I feel like we've had the least interaction with her so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all don't really have like a proper killer in your group that she really like latched onto. So I feel like that was one of the things about the dinner is I probably could have spent more time showing some of the quality of the brides there, but realistically most of them were kind of out of their element in that position. I think really Anastraya and Escher would be the only two that would be kind of happy and a little bit more themselves at that dinner, whereas Ludmilla and Valenta are definitely like reserved and kind of quiet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for Sarkis because he's like the opposite of a killer. So
I would say just like for just let her tell her story. This is also me just going off psychology and criminology. Because they kind of like to talk and brag.
yeah, right. Maybe we can kind of like stoke her ego a little bit about like the stories we've heard about her or something like that. Yeah, that sounds good. I can give it a shot. I think we're all kind of better like on the spot than like planning ahead, to tell you the truth.
Part of the reason why I said, like, let them gossip about each other is this module is called The Real Housewives of Barovia. Like, this is supposed to be making fun of Real Housewives. Let them talk shit about each other. That's where you'll gain the most information.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, this is an add-on to Curse of Strahd, because these are essentially NPCs that are a part of the game, but they have next to nothing to do about it.
That's really funny.
Do we get a second shot at the brides, or is it a one and done on question?
No, that's what I was saying. Like, I think this primer should give you all a first question where you've started to gather more and more that you should probably ask more questions of Escher. You should probably ask some more questions of Ludmilla, and like maybe that you got more thorough as you went through, but definitely that perhaps after talking to everyone that you might find yourselves with more cause to ask other questions. But in general, no, Strahd said find the answers. He didn't give you a time frame, and he didn't say you could only speak to them once.
Okay, cool. 'Cause that's what I was kind of getting at the beginning. If we're like a get out clause, if we can't get it done tonight, can we?
If you all leave the castle, though, if you tell him that you're finished and you leave the castle without giving him a solution, I'm not saying that you have a free pass to enter the castle again. You might have to appeal to him as to why he should give you that same. Because to leave the castle, you're going to either give him the bride, the evidence that he needs, and the accomplice, or you're going to say that you failed, and then you can leave. But that's why it's going to be kind of like it's up to you guys to be creative enough if you want to come back at a later date to continue this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I did want to try to get through the fourth bride before this session ended today, so you guys have another week to actually think about these things. So I would say, if everybody's good, let's jump into Ludmilla, so we have about a half hour with her. Or not Ludmilla, Valenta.
Oh yeah, I'm good whenever.
So you all continue down those staircases. You pass through a short hallway before Rahadin opens the door at the opposite end. When he opens the door, there's a big scent of delicious foods, things like the roast beef, the lamb chops, and the elk that you all would have had from the previous dinner, and you hear kind of like a clinking and a clanking from the north. You can be reasonably sure that the kitchen is on this level. There is a gated wall beyond the lights to your east, as well as a double door to your west, and Rahadin walks directly to the double doors. He will open them, and very quickly there is a smell of death that emanates. As he opens the doors, you all will see beyond is a large banquet table. It is completely bare. And when I say bare, that includes all of the bones it is constructed of are white, bare of flesh. This is a room completely made of bones. And the more you look and pay attention to, the more you recognize that most of them are very much humanoid bones. And probably the only one that is not humanoid is a large dragon's skull that sits over the doors, and as you walk inside, it overlooks the table before you. There are piles of bones all around in the corners, and seated down at the banquet table, you see a small girl sitting down in her golden wedding dress that seems to be torn and repaired, with her platinum skull, and she looks over at you all and she says, "Finally, here to be annoyed. What can I do for you?"
Could this be considered a dungeon of bones?
You're underground in a room made of bones. This might be the place that you guys are looking for, where you're going to meet death.
Okay.
Oh shit! Nice, Flea.
Nice, Flea. Nice.
So you look
Milady.
across. What were you saying there, Al?
Milady, I must know who made that stunning mask.
I've created it myself. I've had to slay many creatures, and saving those who collected platinums. I prefer wedding rings. I've been able to smelt them till I had enough to make the mask.
Is the mask representing one of your best kills?
It's hard to choose a kill that would be a best. If I had to choose one best, I think it would be among my first. But it certainly wouldn't be the most delicious. I really enjoy feasting on the flesh of those I get to kill for Lord Strahd.
Reputation is astounding.
Could you tell us of your favorite conquest?
What was your hardest kill?
Difficulty doesn't really enter into the equation anymore. The only difficulty I would have in getting to enjoy killing all of you is waiting for Lord Strahd to say it's okay. And I graciously await that day. It's going to be glorious when we feed on you. I can see, I can hear, I can almost taste the blood in your veins. Every breath you take makes it smell all the more delicious.
Which bride would you feast on?
Undead flesh doesn't maintain its flavor. They don't have blood to enjoy any longer.
But there's the kill. The excruciating agony. That last look in her eyes as they find.
Maybe one day Lord Strahd can enjoy you. Perhaps you would enjoy the power of being vampire, of feeding on the flesh of your kills, of going towards an eviler end.
Of all the brides, they tell us you are the strongest. Is that right?
Strongest, I doubt, is a word that they've used. I was the youngest in when Strahd helped me. I don't think any of the others were quite so lustful in their desire for blood. But I don't know if any of the others enjoyed a kill before they were turned into his bride.
And what is it that makes us enjoyable?
I always enjoyed the screams of a mother as their daughter or child was killed. They were the most wonderful. But I also baked many children's into my father's pies. It was a good way to hide their flesh and their bones scattered to the wind.
That before you were
Well before.
so you've always had a passion.
Go for it.
You've always had a passion for this.
I was killing long before I was gifted these powers. And I was fortunate enough to be born here, where I was able to request asylum with my lord. And I was glorious enough that he knew how intelligent it was to make me his bride. And he made the right decision.
My lady, why do you ruin all that meat by cooking it? You're raw.
What meat?
I'm sorry?
What meat are you talking about?
That she baked into pies.
Oh, that was before she was bit. That was when she was still human. She was hiding bodies by putting it into her father's meat pies that he was baking.
That goes to the whole rare, medium, or well done kind of.
No, she didn't enjoy eating at that time. She was hiding bodies so she could kill more people without getting caught.
Oh, not like her father was a killer too. She was hiding them like from everyone.
Yeah, 100%. That was like, I feel like Anastraya called her a sociopath. She is a sociopath. She was murdering for pleasure as a child. Like, she's approximately mid-teens right now when she was converted. She was murdering for pleasure as a child and hiding the bodies because her father had a butcher shop who made meat pies, and she would basically hide their flesh in with the meat pies and cook them for the people of Valakai until eventually she was run out of town because they found out what she was doing. So she had a high kill count before she ever got figured out, and as a child came to Ravenloft.
Like
Full on
Sweeney
sweet
Todd
girl.
style.
So she was doing enforced cannibalism, basically.
Essentially, yeah. But again, like it's more her not even giving a fuck about what it meant for other people. She enjoyed like making people disappear, killing them, and keeping herself well hidden by hiding their bodies. Like bones were never thought weird because they were in the butcher shop. The meat was never thought weird because it was just hidden with the other meat.
It's just like Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when he said that. So
Honestly, I was thinking more of Criminal Minds in the episode where the cannibal was making chili for everyone and had human in it. It fed it to the whole town.
Nice.
you're like, what is this? A finger?
Yeah, I think that's actually how they figured it out. Or no, like they're just like gonna like, and they just like connected to dots that they're chili.
I thought that was bones, but anyway.
Criminal Minds because they did a follow up episode in like season 12.
That
It all-
myth though of feeding humans to people, I mean that goes back as old as time. I feel like one of the first stories is in like Greek mythology that I came across, where it's a way of like making a family suffer for a betrayal. Like when one wife is replaced with another, it's often like kind of portrayed in the myth that they cannibalize somebody inadvertently. Everybody at the wedding party eats human and has to pay like a blood price for having consumed them even though they were tricked. So it's very old myth regardless of where it comes from.
Feels pretty badass, mate.
Yeah, but then the question comes like, he did not indulge himself, correct?
I wouldn't rightly know, and at the time I didn't necessarily care to. But in the long run, after a while, was in all of the meat. Likely everybody in Walakai was enjoying human on some level.
Do you not feel a little starved since killing?
I don't lack for people to kill. Strahd is bountiful, and it is very rare when he tells us that we're not allowed to eat the sheep.
There ever been mishaps?
What sort of mishap could there be?
Well, kind of like, feed a little. Whoop, oh, that one's gone. I want to miss. As in, someone's died that should.
Rats don't miss their food. They breed more.
Well, for brides, I think that you may have made a mistake. Killing something that perhaps you should have.
That's foolish. We can make no mistakes in enjoying our prey. The only mistake that I could make that I could possibly know of is if I chose to feed on you right now. But I think it's more likely that I could ask Strahd and he would tell me that it's acceptable.
But the other brides all think that you made a mistake.
Maybe a little act.
Well, clearly, they don't know a damn thing. Strahd loves me, and he has no doubt in my abilities.
I think the answer is quite obvious. Obviously, Valenta belongs here. Look around at this place. This type of behavior would be unacceptable anywhere else. But here, right at home, what an interesting lair you have. And yet we have met the other three brides. One, a poet, musician, another, bookworm, the third, a giddy partier. None of the three of them belong here. They're clearly.
Idiot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, I was trying to add in some background to get her to start gossiping, hence the vapid idiot.
You're good.
We are certainly a weird family, but we are the family that Strahd has chosen, and we all understand our places in it. And I don't think any of us doubts that for now, he finds us entertaining enough, and we are loved. And there is little more that we can ask.
Why would Escher say you ridiculous? Would we be say?
I can't imagine that there's any sort of mistake that Escher is talking about. It seems silly that he would talk about such things. I do as Strahd orders. I kill those he asks me to. I am his right hand. What could I possibly do wrong?
Do you ever venture outside the castle?
I think I probably have the most freedom of all of his brides, for I am the killing hand of the Lord.
Yes, makes perfect sense. And do you ever take liberties?
We call the flock as we have to, but we do not have to ask to take the flesh. It is ours. We are very rarely told to avoid taking pleasure in certain kills, and that's most certainly disappointing. So I feel like your skull would fit so perfectly on that chair just there. And she points just to a chair a little bit south of you, and just like a little open area in the back. Think, just carve a little of your jaw, and it would just pop right into place, and it would be so beautiful. Yes, your skull is perfect.
Marcus, like holding his like walking stick still, will like take his other hand and kind of like put it on his jaw and kind of like move it left and right, and then sort of like put his hand like around his skull, like kind of feeling it uncomfortably. uh, rather not. I'm sure there's plenty of others that would do even better than mine. I know, sort of just back away a little bit, intimidated.
Escher, Lance, do you remember that time? Strahd
Deception check at disadvantage? What are you getting at?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see if something slips.
I've tried multiple times. I want you guys to ask about the other brides, that you're not going to trick these people because they're not stupid and they're not, like, self-incriminating. None of these people believe that they betrayed Strahd. The information that you're going to gain is by asking them questions about the others, what they like to do, how they act. I feel like you guys have spent a lot less time since you got the first things from, like, Escher, where you were having, like, an actual conversation where you were discussing some of the other brides with him, and you did even less with Ludmilla, and you did even less with Anastraya. Like, asking and having conversations that are not, like, backhanded, let me see if I can start a question, or a question and you'll finish it. Like, ask them about stuff.
Okay, forget I asked that.
Because again, like, if you can tell me what you're trying to get at, but, like, when she looks at you and you're like, remember that time with that guy where you did that thing and they did that other thing? She's just gonna shake her head at you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because again, like, what I'm trying to set up here is an interesting time for you all. I don't want to narrate a story to you. And stuff like that is trying to trick them into me narrating a story. And that's not the point.
Okay.
I was legit curious when I asked about her leaving, if, like, because I figured she probably had the most ability to, like, kind of
Well,
be out
and
and about.
And that's along the lines of asking about the other brides and asking about what they do for Strahd and asking about their history. Those are all great ways to get information. But I'm just trying to say, like, those open-ended questions where you guys are trying to lead them into self-incriminating, these people don't know that they did what they did. I think you guys have gotten enough information out of the brides at present that none of these brides betrayed Strahd knowingly. Whoever betrayed him did it without thinking.
Got it.
And I feel like so far we know that this one can leave, like, on her own, but the other ones don't really get to leave.
Well, you also gathered Lumella gets to leave pretty regularly. She basically shops around Barovia for beautiful young women, and brings brides into Strahd. Valenta goes around and kills for Strahd. So there's, like, little things where they all have their duties of what they do.
Okay, I didn't pick that up about Lumella, but that makes sense. That's how she recruits, like, the young girls, like Katruda.
Yep.
Okay.
I feel like you guys probably got a little bit more side of that, and that's where I'd say, like, there was definitely, like, a blend of where your questions were more about the other brides until they got a little bit more focused. And I feel like in getting more focused, you probably lost a lot of information because you were asking to your assumed ends rather than towards letting them gossip about each other.
Right. I'm curious about Asher and his purpose here. What sort of magic is it that gives him the ability to travel, and what stops him from being able to move freely? Is it the mist?
We are all limited by the mist, but he certainly does have some sort of magic. Him and Strahd spend plenty of time working with their potions and their books. I think Escher weaves most of his spells with music, but much of it is written down in his poetry as well. It's all so boring. I don't know why Strahd would pay so much attention to such things, but I do understand that it would be glorious if they were successful. All of the people that we could kill. to go into water deep where there are hundreds of thousands of people in a single city. Oh, the feasts would be great. It would be wonderful. The skulls would mount higher than a mountain. Ooh, it would be so great to get to go to Waterdeep, and they say that's only one of the worlds. But whether he'll ever be successful, I don't think so. I think Strahd and I are happy to enjoy everything here. We have a large enough flock to taste the delicious wines of humanity.
Sounds like they're closer than you think. Asher spoke of traveling to multiple distant lands. Do you have any idea what is missing? What the final ingredient is that they're searching for?
As far as I've been led to believe, they have much more success in pulling others in, and a very limited ability to affect that which is without. The mist, the dark gods, they're still the ones who keep Strahd here. And she'll look over to Sophia. It's you who keeps him here. It would be wonderful to kill you again and taste your blood.
Oh, Sarg is like step in front of Sophia and just interrupt. Ah, that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. That's how they brought us here. That explains it. They spoke of feeling something through the mist, but not quite knowing what it was until they brought it here. Only able to sense, but no more of that. That's boring anyway. Uh, um,
The floor?
She just gets a wicked smile on her face.
Good.
Sadly, the battle was a little bit too fierce, and Tatiana expired before things could be enjoyed. But it was still a wonderful kill.
Such a I would think you would. How about your sister parties? I would think that would give some wonderful opportunity for. Wow.
The parties are a glorious feast, but they are still such a waste. Amastraya knows nothing of what makes Strahd happy. The parties are for herself. The flesh we consume is but a fast released in a torrent.
It
Are
lacks
they-
the kill.
all right, go ahead.
It lacks that chase, that stalk, that kill.
I've already told you, nothing puts up a fight that's an entertaining kill. That is perhaps my greatest sacrifice in joining Strahd as his bride. We are too powerful to enjoy most battles. But Tatiana's last form, Arena, she trained. She became a great warrior with the wizard. And they were certainly a worthy battle. But even then, they didn't stand a chance. It was still, like you all, playing with mice, with the claw hidden inside of your flesh. And she just like grows a claw out of her pointer finger and just stabs it through the skull with like no effort. She's just like holding a skull in her hand and just stabs it right through the skull and just like butter cuts the skull in half with the claw before it retracts back into her finger.
These parties that Anastria throws or hosts, are they how you feed?
Strahd humors her. She remembers when she was still part of the family, the Baron of Valkovich. She pretends that she is still some sort of royalty, instead of appreciating that what we are now, all of us are beyond royal. All of Barovia is our food. Just running around, blind to the feast.
Is she related to Ismark?
Just out of character, Ismark was Arena's brother. They are from Barovia, the Barons of Barovia. What she was implicating was that Anastria was the daughter of one of the Barons of Valakai.
Oh, okay. I was thought that was a connection.
What were you asking, Al?
No. Why Strahd put up with intelligence not there?
He's delighted by youth and beauty.
Which of the other brothers least favorable?
I don't waste my time with Strahd's concubines. I'm not here to please them. I'm here to please my lord.
That is
He favors me. Because of all of them, I am the only one who enjoys the feast of flesh nearly as thoroughly as himself. She's an old woman. She's the mother of us all. But she forgets that none of us need a mother. We're all far too powerful to need a mother. But she pretends. She continues on.
He find you, recruit you.
I found myself to Strahd. I knew quite well of what he was. I always enjoyed Father's stories of his conquest of this land and the wonderful history of blood that was Barovia. And in my own way, I continued that story with the blood of Valaki. And when the town finally became wise and tried to run me out of town, I ran faster. And I ran to the one person who I knew would understand me. And Strahd was wonderful enough to appreciate me. And I soon became his bride.
And what fate came of your father?
Perhaps one day we fed on him, I don't fucking know.
mentioned did that are useful, perhaps now being
She might fear such things, but it seems at least a little foolish. She's been here how many hundreds of years, and she never had the power the whole time. So why would she think it's any different now?
Is this the first time that a group has come here and asked these type of questions of you all?
She raises her hands to the bones on the floor, to the many hundreds of skulls across the room's walls, to all the femurs that construct the bones of the table. There's been no shortage of adventurers. They often find themselves guests. But, like all toys, a master has to learn how to play with them, plays with them, and then tires of them. And that's when we feed.
And how long has Strahd suspected one of his brides?
We are not all privy to what he knows, for the Lord is above his servants. But he invited you 3 days ago, and I imagine it was about that time that he started to wonder.
tell us battle you killed Tatiana.
We enjoyed a little tiff with a wizard who had gained some adherence to his cause. Barovia thought it could stand against their lord. And while many commoners lost their lives, they are not nearly the sport that the wizard or Arena put up. But even she was still just a fly to be squished. And in the end, we all enjoyed the spectacle. It was Strahd toying with the wizard before finishing him.
Your loyalty is obviously not in question here, as you fit right in, and find it hard to believe that you would find somewhere else so accommodating. If you were to suspect one of the other brides, what would give you a reason to doubt them? What sort of information could lead Strahd to feel this way about one of those that's closest to him?
We all love our lord in our own way. But Escher's the only one who bitches about being here on a regular basis. So despite all things, clearly he's grown tired of this glorious gift.
Yes, I suspect that the trust between them is mutually broken. But what could Escher possibly have to gain by leaving this place? Where could he even go? I was under the impression no one could leave. I was even doubting the gift that Strahd offered us, the gift of freedom. for one of us.
Only Strahd can open the mist, and it is a further continuation of the torture that reminds him that he can never leave. So, though he pretends to be dedicated to setting us all free upon the multiverse, Escher simply grows tired, and he cannot cease but bitch about all of the cities he would like to visit, and forgets how much joy there is in the kill right here, in the feast in Barovia. There's always Vistani to bring in more flavors. Werewolves. Even Strahd himself has brought those in that he needs. We have all the metropolitan flavors of blood that we could ever desire.
Just out of game real quick. Was that 3 in line with like this line of questioning, or was that an old roll?
I feel like that was an old one.
Okay, the 3 had nothing to do with her kind of like revealing Escher there.
That was my question. Battle.
Okay, I got you. I just noticed it up there as she was kind of like telling on Escher. Ah, interesting. Okay.
I'm running out of line of questioning anyone else.